dreaded flag, a vengeful sea. Be careful what you say. There's always someone listening. The Dutchman tossed on the sea. I swore and the devil heard me. Now we're doomed to sail the 7 seas for eternity. So yo-ho, let the ocean winds blow. The line forever we must tow. We sail through them, cursed and condemned. Yo-ho, let the ocean winds blow. A sinister grin across his face said, you'll be doomed to this place. The devil heard my oath, shame of my boast. Oh, a ghostly ship from the depths, freedom from fear is the only gift of death. Yo-ho, let the ocean winds blow. The line forever we must tow. We sail through them, cursed and condemned. Yo-ho, let the ocean winds blow. If you cast your eyes, you'll join us like those before. We're an omen of the ocean night. When you see the Flying Dutchman, it's too late for your soul. To the waters we gave now our breath. Yo-ho, let the ocean winds blow. The line forever we must tow. We sail through them, cursed and condemned. Yo-ho, let the ocean winds blow. Yo-ho, let the ocean winds blow. The line forever we must tow. We sail through them, cursed and condemned. Yo-ho, let the ocean wind blow.
Sirens of the Caspian Sea, the depths of the ocean we gather in splendor. Sunken ships and treasure, luring sailors with our songs, hypnotic hymns, promises of bliss, whirling and twirling. Take caution, my friend. This could be the end. A mermaid's tale, you're mortal, so frail. Swimming with the souls of men untold, watching their demise unfold. Never to grow old, their stories never told. The souls of the sea are now caressing me. Your final resting place, the ocean, the sea, the murder of men, no one will ever find them. Swirling and twirling, the warmth of the ocean, spinning with souls in motion. Take caution, my friend, this could be the end. A mermaid's tale, you're mortal, so frail.
As I travel this life alone, two paths both unknown. For what already has this life shown? The first step I diverge from normalcy. No paper cut out life for me. I did it my way, not much more to say. Less traveled, dark and cold. I came upon a fork in the road. I pondered, both mind free. The fall had come, for yellow is the autumn tree. Both I long to travel, for I'm but one. I could not see, for both were bent, the overgrowth and canopy. Where will destiny lead me? The first step I diverge from normalcy. No paper cut out life for me. I did it my way, not much more to say. I began my journey on the road less traveled. Regret haunts me at times, looking back wondering where the other path myself would find. But both paths are traveled equally, for many take the zombie road to normalcy, and others seek individuality. From the wear on the trail it appears 50-50. With every footstep came pitfalls and risks, rewards and opportunities. Looking back, what did I really miss? The first step I diverged from normalcy. No paper cut out life for me. I did it my way, not much more to say.
All right. Wait 1 second here. All right, guys. Welcome to Paranormal Roundtable. I'm your host, Josh Turner. This is PRT. Join us in the real reality. Sorry about the sound. We're still working on the soundproofing. It's a slow process trying to get it done right. But we can't just not do the show. We got to do the show, right? So. Letting some people get in here. We got 100 people in here so far. Sean says he can't hear. Can everybody else hear me? Can everybody hear what I'm saying here? Yeah, Randy here said, please remember to hit the like button. Please hit the like button. And if you're not subscribed, please subscribe. We do have other channels. We have the random files here on YouTube, and then we have the real random files on Rumble. So if you would please go like and subscribe to those channels. And if you would be so kind as to go and check out Dead Zone Transmissions. I did a live last night on Dead Zone Transmissions after the show. And then I was on Abe's show for a while after that. So thank you for that, Dalton. We appreciate that. So we have 3 shows we did yesterday. We did the Patreon, Bigfoot and the Nature of Reality in Alabama. Pretty terrifying encounter that we went into. And I want to thank the people that sent me that. Melinda and Shannon. We did that one, and then we did a live stream last night, and I did Gailey's stories of his family up in the Appalachians in West Virginia. And those had a pretty good
that was a crazy one.
Yeah, we had their story. His story was not, it wasn't just a Dogman, it was Crawler, Dogman, and then Ghost.
Mm-hmm.
It was his encounters from his life. He had a couple other things happen later on in life too. Like later, his house he lived in was like, it had some hauntings. But I told him he could redirect those, because I already did those 3 he did, toward a friend of mine who's doing a show with ghosts. And so I don't know if he's going to use them yet. So I'm not going to tell you, hey, go check it out until he decides what he wants to do. But I've given him a few witnesses because I'm backed up. But don't stop sending your stories, because somebody's going to tell them. We're going to get them done. We're going to whatever. And so, yeah, we have the Rumble, the random files on Rumble. Then we have True Crime Paranormal, which we will continue. We couldn't, because of the move and everything, moving the studio. We were not able to record and get it done last week. The last 2 weeks has been very hard, so we weren't able to do a lot of recording. So we're going to be on track, right, this week?
Oh, yeah.
Saturday.
Definitely.
We'll be back on track this Saturday with True Crime Paranormal. We're going to be talking about the Son of Sam.
That's going to be an interesting one.
Yeah, it's going to be really interesting. So they all are. They're all interesting. But, yeah, that's what's happening. So Dark Cam says, Wolf always has badass shirts and pieces. Thank you. Appreciate that. Yeah, this one is the Flying Dutchman, and it's in honor of our song, the Flying Dutchman. If you want to hear all of our music that's been made by Nelly, go to Paranormal Soundtable, or you can go to the Random Files, and there's a playlist on there. The new Caesar song, a lot of people have been asking me about that. So it got released kind of janky, so we're fixing it. And so that will be, it's on Paranormal Soundtable, but the sound is not correct. It came out messed up. So that will be reconnoitered. It's going to be pulled off and then redone. And it's already been redone. It's going to be re-put back on there. So sorry about that for anybody who, sorry about that. So it will be set up though. Thank you for that gift of those 5 members only. Now, tomorrow night is Thursday, right? So Thursday night, we have members only tomorrow. So if you are a member, you will be treated to a members only live stream tomorrow night at 8 o'clock. If you are not a member, well, you don't get to see it. So join the members only. Do you want to explain to them how to do that?
Yeah. So if you're on Android, I mean, if you're on iPhone, it might be a little tricky, but if you're listening on your phone like most people do, and if you have an Android, and if you're not a member, then right next to the button you hit to subscribe. There should be like a little bell icon. If you haven't click that too, because if when you bring that bell icon, it's going to let you know like when we go live, when we release new videos. But it's going to have a button next to that that says join. That's going to let you join our YouTube memberships, and it's $5 a month. That's a good way to support the channel, and you'll have access to members only live streams and members only pre-records, which we do every Thursday. So one week on Thursday we'll do a members only live stream, and then the next week after that we'll do a members only pre-recorded podcast episode. If you're on Apple, if you're on iPhone, for whatever reason, the iPhone YouTube app, it's for some people, for a lot of people, it doesn't show the button, the join button. So you can go on your web browser, which is like, I think Opera or Safari on your iPhone. If you log into YouTube and go to us on there, then it should pop up. But yeah, it's really cool. The members only. It's like I said, it's it helps us to support the channel financially, keep things going, and yeah, you get members only stuff for it. So
yeah, and don't forget, not only is that a thing to do, but the Patreon, which we do every Tuesday. Now, what we're doing now with Patreon is every other Tuesday we're going to do a live stream, which is Bigfoot: The Nature of Reality, and then for this month, we're trying it out. And then every other Monday, or every other Tuesday, we're going to drop a pre-record. So that's going to be for the month of April. We're going to be dropping pre-records, and that's going to be, like I said, every other Tuesday. So this coming Tuesday, we're going to go ahead and probably just start off with a live stream on this coming Tuesday and do Bigfoot: The Nature of Reality. We're going to do Nevada. So that's going to be, we're going to do that. And then we're going to go back to the other side of the world. Thank you for that, David. We appreciate any and all donations you guys are willing to give us. We appreciate it. It helps the show. It keeps us going. Thank you for everything. Also, if you are so inclined, like I said, join the Patreons, $10, $20, $30, $40, $50 tier. And each tier gives you, not only do you get an extra show every week that you get that doesn't go onto YouTube, but you also get a swag bag, and that's like a merch crate that you get, and it's depending on your tier. So yeah, join up the Patreon, $10, $20, $30, $40, $50 tier. The best thing about Patreon so far for me has been, I really enjoy doing the Bigfoot: Nature of Reality live streams. We use maps, we show you where it happened, where it's at. And the other thing I like about it is that it's a cozy, and the people that are there, they're paying to be there, so they want to be there. It's not some casual listener. You're around people who want to be involved and want to be a part of what's going on. So I really enjoy it because I know everybody that's there is serious about being there. And it is actually pretty laid back, even though people are serious about being there. Everybody gets along, so don't have to worry about trolls or anything like that. And we don't have to have a bunch of mods. People can pay attention to the show. The interactiveness of it's pretty cool. You get people can, you get to ask your questions or whatever. What else? On Wednesday, which is what we do here, it's just retelling encounters. Sunday, same thing. Monday, we still have the stream where we put on the panel and people can ask questions, or they can talk, or they can tell their encounters. It started off as a way to get people to tell their encounters, but some people don't like telling their encounters on a live stream, which I can understand that. I've had a few people with trepidation tell me like, well, I really don't want to do it on a live stream because I might say something weird or mess up or people may not like what I'm saying. And I tell people, well, I guess as I'm used to it, it doesn't bother me. I don't care how many people are watching me. There could be 10,000 people watching me. It doesn't matter to me. But I understand that some people can't do that. I totally get it. So anyways, that's what's going on. And then Dead Zone Transmissions, we did the live stream last night. It was called The Feet in the Woods. That's a story that happened to me when I was like an 11-year-old kid. And but it's kind of weird, so it gets weird later on, but just check out the show. It's like 30-40 minutes long. I think it's 30 minutes long, isn't it?
Yeah, 33 minutes.
33 minutes long. So
it's a good one.
Go check it out. And it's to help promote, not only help promote Dead Zone Transmissions, but to actually do a live there so that the algorithms don't think that Nellie's channel is just some bots because she uses AI for the retelling or whatever. But these are actual encounters that people have had. It's real encounters. So that's what it is. And so we were suggested by a friend of ours that knows how to do YouTube. And he was like, you should probably do a live stream on there. So we're actually going to do a live stream on there probably at least, once every couple of weeks. So pop in and support Dead Zone Transmissions, one of Nellie's projects. We want to get monetized. We have 600 and something subs. We need 1,000. Also, if you haven't subscribed to True Crime Paranormal, we need 1,000 subs to get monetized on that. If you could please go to True Crime Paranormal and subscribe, that would be huge. I think right now we only need like 15 people or something.
Yeah.
So if we could just get 15 people to go to True Crime Paranormal, that would be super duper amazing. And we could be, monetized on there. So that comes out on Saturday, True Crime Paranormal. Friday, we have a guest every Friday. This week's guest is going to be Dano. That's Daniel Hamilton. If you haven't checked out his show, he's got a great show called The Cryptid Channel. And so go check him out, but he's going to be our guest on for the next couple of weeks. We still have some recording to do with him, but now we're set up. We can do it. And get it done. So it'll probably be 3 weeks with him, but then after that we have Takayasha, and then we have a bunch of other people that we need to record with and that have already whatever. So it just keeps going. But that's every Friday at when do we drop those?
Fridays are at 7:00.
7:00 on Friday. Every Friday we drop an episode with a pre-recorded episode with a guest. Right now they're audio only, but a lot of people have said that they want it to be video too. We'll see about that. We're trying to get things set up. Also, I got to tell you, thank you for that, Andres Herzals. If you are keeping up with the Patreon, every other Patreon episode this month will be a pre-record, and that pre-record will go to Spotify. Okay. So if you don't join the Patreon, you can go every other week and watch that episode or listen to that episode on Spotify. And there's going to be some real bangers, so you're going to want to do that. But like I said, you're not going to get the alternating weeks. You're not going to get the Bigfoot and Nature Reality Live. So Tuesdays will just be, blank there. But every other Tuesday, you will get that if you go to Spotify but you won't get the swag bag. You won't get the extra episodes on the Patreon plus those episodes. So Patreon is the way to go. It's a way to support the show. It helps us immensely. Like literally this past month, I've been struggling. We all have because of our business been slacking. Not our fault. There's just things that we can't control that have been going on. And we literally survived by the Patreon.
Yeah.
The Patreon literally kept us going all month. I can't say enough about how important it is. If you can help be a member or Patreon, especially Patreon really helps quite a bit, please. So you can help keep the show going that way. Because I don't want to have to take a bunch of time off from the show and the momentum we have from the other shows and go and have to do a bunch of work. We already have to spend like half of our week at the ranch. And that's a lot of work. We are in the process of figuring out how we're going to do the ranch, hopefully by a couple of months from now. But we're shooting for the end of May. We'll have some animals ready to go to be videoed out there. So we're going to set up a new channel for the ranch. And you will get to be a part of the feeding and different things with the animals out at the ranch. So that's coming up too. So remember, True Crime Paranormal, Dead Zone Transmissions, the Random Files, and the Real Random Files, which is Real Random Files is a Rumble exclusive, and there's a reason for that.
Yeah.
We do and say a lot of things that you probably already know. If you're probably in this chat, you probably already know, but we say things that maybe are not
good to say.
Yeah, well, they're good to say,
Yeah, well,
but they're not exactly good for the people that are in charge of things.
Monetization.
Yeah, they don't like us saying all those things, but it's the truth. Oh well. Nowadays the truth has become, like an offense. It's like, oh, don't tell the truth. People get offended. Well, people are going to get offended. That's just tough titty. That's how it goes. Just 1 second. All right. They want to, because I had to say something and then they want to, not a big deal. Got the people getting in here, but I'm excited to tell this encounter. I want to get it going. So we're getting some people in. It's been a lot of work. Having to move the studios and having to do the ranch at the same time and dealing with a merger with my company. Because the new company is
also,
a lot of work,
a new business venture as well. So it's just been
and then we
all at the kind of the same time.
Yeah, all at the same time. Definitely,
it's been a very busy month.
New beginnings, yeah. So, and then we have all the new channels going at this. All this kind of happened at the same time. If you'd have told me 3 or 4 months ago that this was all going to be happening at the same time, I'd have been like, "You're crazy. No way we're going to do all that." But And somebody said the new studio is nice. Well, I mean, it looks on camera like the same. Once we get it set up and we get, we'll show you like the inside of it. We'll do a little bit of a video or something and show you what
behind the scenes.
Like. Yeah. So, but that'll happen.
It is a lot at once, Law, but you work when you can.
Yeah,
you got to do it. It has to get done, and it's all for a bigger, brighter future. So it's exciting. It's pretty. It's a lot to do, but it's worth it in the end, and that's the main thing that we're all kind of focusing on is just looking ahead, and you put the work in now, so you don't have to do as much later.
Yeah. Oh, what are you talking about? So we almost have 200 people in here. I'm just going to get started here. I can't wait around I don't want to do that to the live streams. We need to start doing them. But the problem is, here's the reason why we wait like that. And it's not just to get people in here, because people can just pop in and listen anytime they want, or they could start from whenever they want.
So everyone's on the same page.
Yeah, because we don't have a rewind feature, right? So we don't allow you to rewind and start. And the reason we do that is very simple, because in the chat, if you go back a couple years ago, we had people that were commenting and saying things in the chat, and they were commenting from where they were at in the show. And this is a long show. Most shows on YouTube go 30 minutes to an hour, something like that. We go like 2 hours. So whenever we used to go 3 hours, but it was just too long. People complained. So, yes, I will, Jojo. I'm going to do that. I'm going to do an experience on the guards experience. Yes, I will.
We've definitely done some over the years already, like the Black Eyed Kids one recently.
Yeah, I thought about doing one on the random files. Now, when you do a bunch of different stuff like you do on random files, it kind of throws off the algorithm. So we're not going to make a lot of money on there from views. But what we're hoping is people like you will come and help out, as best you can to get it going and keep it going, and watch and subscribe, and it'll be the audience from here, because that's really what I made it for. And I would love to have you guys join us. And I'm going to talk about a lot of things. And one of the things I would like to talk about is some of the goofy, ridiculous behavior that goes on here with some of the clients that we've had over the years. Because if you want to know the truth about Austin and how these people are, like, I will tell you about one account in particular and how ridiculous and goofy they are. In fact, I'll do it tonight. If you want to go to Random Files and you want to laugh, I'll just title it, "Do you want to laugh?" I'll make you laugh for like an hour. I'll tell you exactly what these lunatics did. And I'll tell you, this is not unusual. This is not like you would be like, wow. No, it's happened a few times with some of these people because of the way that they think and the way that their minds are. Like, they think it's perfectly normal to act like Willy Wonka, right? But you and I are like, okay, this is stupid. This isn't the real reality. This isn't even the fake reality. This is some kind of weird acid trip that they've created in their minds, right? I'm not even joking. I kind of get aggravated when I think about it.
Yeah,
But the only saving grace is that I can laugh about it, and I'll make you laugh. How about we do that tonight? After we're done here, I'll go to Random Files and I'll just talk about that. It might take about an hour. And you'll laugh your ass off. Believe me, I'm going to make you freaking laugh, because I know how to tell this. I've told people before, and I even had people that didn't believe me, and I brought them over there and I was like, take a look. You think this is normal? You think that this guy running around in a top hat and a cane? I'm not even going to give it away. I'm just going to let you know that this is the kind of crap that me and Anthony, Tony, and all of us have had to deal with over the years. And I'll tell you exactly. Like, you be the judge. Do you think that these people that their minds are wrapped tight? No, they're not. No, believe me. And this is what you're dealing with. And this is, people that complain about the orange man. Well, this is why he got in, because of these people, how stupid they are. So I'll do that tonight. We'll do that, right? We can do it tonight.
Yeah.
And then tomorrow I'll probably do the one about China, Iran, and the connection for the war or whatever. But I'll do that for you guys. And it'll kind of throw the algorithms off a little bit, because we've been studying that and finally started to give a crap a little more about it, but who cares? As long as you guys show up and you're willing to watch, I'll do one, and I'll show you, exactly what I'm talking about. So thank you for that donation, Amy Krill. Any and all donations we get are greatly, sincerely appreciated, especially with the way things are right now financially, and everything that we've been going through has been getting kicked in the balls over and over again. So anything to help the show and keep it going, we appreciate it. Hopefully these other channels will take off, and especially Random Files on Rumble seems to be doing better than I thought it would. So yeah. But that being said, like, we have a full week of shows, and then Nelly drops Dead Zone Transmission, I think Wednesday or Friday, something like that. I don't think it's today. I think it's Friday. But I don't know if she's in the audience, but she is, you can correct me. But I have quite a few things that I'm going to be dropping on this channel and all the other channels. So just be prepared. Stay tuned. We'll be dropping it. So we have 224 people in here. Okay, so we don't rewind, because people were commenting, and people in the chat were like, "What?" And they would start arguing, and it just was a mess, because people were commenting about stuff that had already been talked about, and they were like, "You're behind, dude." And then people would be like, "Oh, don't tell me what to do," blah blah blah. And then there was just a bunch of, so just to quit with all of that, we just decided that we were going to get it under control. And Anthony and me and Tony just all unanimously came with the decision to, it was really your idea first, Anthony.
Yeah.
But me and Tony agreed. I mean, because you asked us, and I was like, hey, because, yeah, we kind of make the decisions together. And I thought, whatever you decide. And Tony was in favor of it. So I said, okay. So we took away the rewind. That way people don't go back and rewind or start it from wherever, or pause it or rewind or whatever. Because what ends up happening is, like I said, the chat gets all messed up, and they don't know. They start and they chat from whatever. And I'm going to be honest. I've done that on Abe's show. Like, I've gone to Abe's show and paused it or went back and commented when he was. I said, "Oh crap, I'm over here commenting, and these people are way ahead of me. So just kind of catch up, just,
And my reasoning was because like people would ask, very good questions during the story, and we would always miss them or they would be like way behind and we wouldn't understand what was going on or what they were talking about.
Mm-hmm.
So I thought it was important to just get everyone on the same page so that if you do have questions you want to ask, they're right there at the same time at the moment of the story.
Yeah. So that's the reasoning behind that. But let's get started here. So we got 230 people. Let's get going. I'm eager to get this started here. So I had a guy reach out to me. His name was Chase. Now, if you're on the Patreon, you already know. You heard part of this story yesterday. Now, I gave you a little sneak peek of what we were going to be talking about. And so if, like I said, if you're on the Patreon, you're probably going like, okay, I already know the guy's name because I just told you a little bit about what it was. And that's the beauty of being on the Patreon. You get like a little bit of extra, So thank you for that, Megan. We appreciate it. So yesterday when we were talking about this, like I said, his name is Chase. He gets in touch with me and he is a listener. He's not like somebody who was referred or whatever. He's a casual listener and really more, he's a pod person. Pod people, if you don't know who those are, they're not you because you're here. Pod people really only listen on Spotify. And one of my really good friends, John Bankhead, shout out to him. He gave me a story years ago, and I've told a couple of his on here. But he'll sit there and ask me questions. Just he doesn't do it anymore because I finally kind of got aggravated. And no offense, I like John a lot. He doesn't watch the YouTube. He only listens to it on Spotify, and then he asks a million questions that are answered constantly on YouTube. And so I told him, finally, I said, look, I don't really have time he's a Texan, Central Texan, nice guy. I bought his book collection, which was the largest paranormal book collection I've ever seen in my life. I bought it a few years ago. He needed money and I needed books for reference, and some of those were out of print. So I got them, and now we have a humongous paranormal book collection. But so he's a nice guy. But he was constantly asking me questions, like every day he wanted to ask questions. And it wasn't just him. There were multiple people doing that. And I was like, what's wrong with these people? I mean, I'm answering these questions on the show like all the time. And then it just hit me. I was like, they're not watching the show. Oh, no, they are. But they're watching it on Spotify, Podbean, Stitcher, Apple, whatever. They're watching it on all these different platforms. They're not watching it on here. And those are only the pre-recorded audio episodes. So they have no clue what's being taught to you guys here on YouTube. So when they were asking questions about these shows, questions that were answered on this show, I started telling all of them, including my good friend, I said, look, I'm not going to sit here and answer a million questions for you, because if you want to know, go to YouTube. And I promise you, he's not watching YouTube. I promise you, he's not on here. And he might. I mean, I doubt it. But
this will be the one time he watches.
Yeah. And if y'all met him when she went to the rodeo and showed me the books or whatever. But I met him in 2018 before I even started the show. He was messaging me from Vic's about Vic's show, and he did send me some people. He sent me a park ranger who I later turned over to Nick Redfern, and I believe David Weatherly, or maybe it was Lyle that interviewed that guy too. And that guy was a valuable, or no, it was Steve Stockton, my bad. He was a wealth of information. So John has been helpful in some of the investigations, and I'm pretty sure he's the one that turned over some documents to Armando that Armando brought to me and Tony. And we went from there. And so he's been helpful. Like he's been kind of like like Chief was, going out and getting stories and going on location and doing so. He's a good, valuable asset. But I told him, I said, if you really want to be a part of this, watch the YouTube. And for whatever reason, he's just like, no, it burns. No, it burns you too. He doesn't act like that. Now he just is like, That's what he does when you try to tell him. So for whatever reason, the pod people, they just do not participate in this reality. I don't know why. Another one is a good friend of mine, Allison Wood. Shout out to her. Her and her husband owned Black Sheep Boxing, and she is a badass. She's a kickboxer or whatever, but same thing. I could talk to Allison all day long about the podcast episodes, she's a boxing coach up there too, by the way, and she's a woman, but she could beat you up. And it takes a lot for me to say that because I know a lot of women that talk like they can beat up people, like Ronda Rousey and Gina Carano, whatever but they need to like be quiet because they can't. Okay, Ronda talking about she could beat up Cain Velasquez. You need to shut up. Okay, shut your mouth. You can't beat up nobody. You probably can't beat yourself up at this point. And don't waste your money or time watching those two fight. What is that? I mean, have they fought yet?
No idea.
Yeah, me neither. It doesn't matter. What a joke. You get two older dudes out of retirement to beat each other's bad enough, but then you get two of them to do it. And it's like, are you kidding me? You know, just not a fan. But anyways, the point is that that's the same thing. She's a tough woman, but she's a pod person. She just refuses to watch the YouTube. And that's okay. That's okay. But, you know, people, when you talk to them, they ask a bunch of questions. And what am I going to say? Like, go watch the show, you know? So that's pretty much that. That's my take on that. Here is something that I know. And this is a person who was watching. He says, I watch your show. I listen to your show. And I said, really? I said, oh, okay. And he started talking about some of the weird stuff. He goes, I have a theory about Dogman. And I told Chase I was going to do this. So he's a good sport about it. And I said, do you really? And he says, yeah. He says, yeah. I think that these things may not be completely physical.
No.
Wow.
So now you guys, and this was just like 2 months ago, right?
Earth shattering.
Back in February, right? This is already April, right? So this is like the beginning of February. He tells me this, right? And I said, really? Tell me your theory. So he starts telling me, and then he tells me this story. He says, when I was in Michigan, I had a horrific Dogman encounter. Now I was appreciative of that. Not appreciative that somebody goes through absolute terror. I don't want to be like, I'm so happy you had a horrifying day of horror. No. I'm happy that he had some substance to what he was saying. What happened to him was, and here we go, the Manistee National Forest. So he started off with this encounter that he had in the Manistee National Forest. There's another forest. I can't remember the name off the top of my head. Look it up. It's right next to the Manistee National Forest. There's like two of them right there together. And if y'all know the name of it, it's named after like a tribe. I'm trying to remember the name of it. But they're right there together, I believe. But anyways, he was right there at the Manistee National Forest, and he had a crazy encounter with a Dogman, and it terrified him. And then he tells me, you know, it's weird because I saw something like this when I was a kid in the 80s. Now, when I started talking to Chase, I realized like he's a few years younger than me. He's 5 years younger than me. He was born in 1980. So he's just not quite a millennial. He's a Gen Xer by the skin of his teeth.
Hiawatha Forest. There's a Huron Manistee.
The Huron. So he would regularly go to the Huron National Forest, or he would go to the Manistee National Forest. And he told me something about another place that somebody had said they had encounters at. I haven't fleshed it out yet, but it's called the Sleeping Bear Cave Dunes. Can you look that up to make sure I'm not saying it wrong? It's something like the Sleeping Bear Cave Dunes National, or Dunes, something another like that. So when he's telling me
Sleeping Bear Dunes.
Sleeping Bear Dunes. Okay, I don't want to say it, I'm butchering. People in Michigan are probably going like, what? What's wrong with this guy? So I don't want to say it wrong or whatever, but anyway, he's telling me about these different places. Now, he knows somebody who had an encounter at Sleeping Bear Dunes. He also claims that he thinks he was really close to having an encounter in the Huron National Forest. Now, what he means by that is like it didn't happen. He heard it, but he didn't see it. But he likes to go camping and stuff like that. But after that, he went to the Manistee National Forest with a friend, well, two friends. And, dude, I can see why now he tries to stay clear of these places. We talked on our show about a guy, I think his name was Jerome or something like that, or Jermaine. I can't remember his name off the top of my head, but he had an encounter in the Manistee National Forest. And another person was driving through that area and had a very famous encounter. And it's been all over the internet. I've interviewed him, and he's a good personal friend of mine. And he was at my conference, and I actually did a show with him way back before anybody else got him. You know, I had him on my show. So I was one of the first people that interviewed this guy. His name is Joe Barger. After I interviewed him, and we had like 900 people in the chat. I remember it was like 900 and something people, man. And after that, now he's become like a sort of celebrity. He's been on Josh Nanokia. He's been on Tony Merkel. He's been on everybody's show, man. He's a great guy. I like Joe a lot. Pretty humble dude, and just tells it what happened. He said, man, I shot this thing in the eye. But he's not the only one that's done that. There have been other people who have done that, who have actually, I don't know what you want to call it, assassinated one of these things. I don't know. But these people came after Joe and said it was like an asset or something. And they're like, you killed our asset, you know, and you know, what are you supposed to do? Supposed to let it eat you because it's your freaking asset? Sorry, dude. Keep your asset on a freaking leash. Or maybe that's what you want, is to let it roam around and do whatever the hell they do and terrorize everybody, right? So that men's hearts will fail them. Is that what this is all about? Who knows? I can tell you this. If it's me, I won't hesitate. I'm not even going to hesitate. I'm not going to go, oh, it's not going to hurt me. I'm going to probably be like Ned, Uncle Ned.
It's coming right for us.
Yeah. What are their names? Ned and what's his name? Uncle
What is
South
his
Park.
name?
I can't remember.
It's coming right for
It's
us.
coming right for us. Yeah, and you got to do what you got to do. South Park, you know. Uncle Jimbo. Jimbo, that's what it was. Uncle Jimbo and Ned. Right? Now, I'm not telling you should just go and start blasting like Danny DeVito. I started blasting. No. I'm just saying, like, if it's me and I know 100% that this is a cryptid creature, demonic Nephilim, disembodied Nephilim, and a whatever it is, I'm not going to play around. I plead the blood of Jesus. I'm going to pray. I'm going to do what I'm going to do. And if I have to, I will shoot. And I'm not one of these people who's like, oh, don't kill them. Well, they're going to kill you. I stand by that. I'm telling you that. I'm not telling you just to go shoot, because it could be a guy in a suit if you don't get a good look at it. Could be somebody playing a joke, right? Or it could be an animal like a bear or something. And if it's not bothering you, I mean, you know, but for my money, I stand by what Joe did. I don't think that it's something that we should take lightly, because knowing what we know that these beings are not good guys. They're not our friends, right? Scorpion hit the nail on the head. He says, it's me or them, and I choose me. I aim to be his angel, Lolo, Dick Richards, 86, Sean, Julie Coombs, everybody that's in here. Good to see all of you lovely people. Law Morgan. So here's the thing. And Wedge, there's Wedge. Wedge just refuses to join and be a member. Come on, Wedge. It's only $5, Wedge. Let's all talk. Let's harangue Wedge until he finally becomes a member. And then he's able to go and watch the back catalog of all of the wonderful deliciousness that is our members only material.
Otherwise, you will hereby be known as Wedgie. Sorry, man. I don't make the rules.
We just uphold them.
And that's really just a mispronunciation. It's Wedgie Antilles. So from now on, we're going to call him Wedgie Antilles until he becomes a member.
Wedgie Antelope.
Wedgie Anthills.
Wedgie Antilles, because Antilles sounds more feminine. There you go, Wedge. We're going after you. So anyway, Amy Krill's in here. We got Orm. Oh, what's up, Orm? Haven't seen you in a while. And David Buckles, Rebecca. What's going on, everybody?
Thank you for gifting a donation, David.
Yeah, David's like, I'll see if it hits him. Oh, I guess not.
Joseph Newton got it.
There you go. Nathan hit the nail on the head right there. What's up, Cooper Young? I hadn't seen you in a while in here. Ona Holly.
Congratulations.
Orem says 14 months as a member. There you go. Look at that.
Congratulations, man. That's awesome.
That's Orem is literally what's his face? Right hand guy. Eli Marzulli. Dang it, can't even think. Cowboy, what's up, Cowboy? Joe Jaco's in here. Jordan, what's up, Jordan? I love Jordan. He's a great guy. Here, what I got to tell you.
Thank you so
is
much.
You get your money's worth. Tomorrow night, we're going to talk about some stuff tomorrow night, and I'll tell you about it at the end of the show. But right now, we're focused on Chase. And what Chase told me, he says, look, he says, when I was a kid, I used to like to go to my friend Chad's house and play. He said, I'd ride my bike. It was only a few blocks down the street. We grew up together. Paranormal Oz, Matt, whatever, anybody and everybody who's in here, whatever you're doing, pay attention. Lawrence, everybody, Edith Gomez. Oh, Edith from New Braunfels. Hey, what's going on? You know, when I was talking to James Bartley, he was asking me about vampires in New Braunfels. If you know anything about that, please, Edith, hit me up, because I don't really know. Have y'all heard anything about vampires in New Orleans? I mean, in New Orleans.
Braunfels?
New Braunfels.
No, but I mean, it kind of makes sense.
Why?
Isn't it where
I hear about Dogman all the time.
Didn't a lot of like German settlers settle there?
And going towards Seguin, there's like violent Bigfoot that throws stuff at people. But what do you? I mean, I've never heard of vampires there.
Yeah, I mean, we've had werewolf experiences there, but
Yeah.
I've never heard. I've yet to hear vampire stories.
Isn't that how like
That'd be good to hear.
New Braunfels came about? Was like a lot of German settlers and stuff like people like that. came
Yeah.
out. So I mean, it's possible that it could be there could be a small enclave.
The Germans, I think, more werewolf than vampire, because every time I hear about these German towns, they have werewolf problems, not vampire problems. I mean, that sounds crazy to think about, but it really does kind of seem to be that way. I don't know. The Eastern European towns, seem to be more, vampire-ish, whatever. I just think that that's what comes from those areas. But then again, if a werewolf dies, they say it becomes a vampire. So maybe, who knows? Anyway, if anybody knows anything, hit me up, because I'm always looking for stories. So Chase tells me, he says, I had a friend that lived down the street. I used to go to his house all the time. Like, we would go there and we'd play video games or whatever. He's like, and I was like 10 years old. He goes, it was like 1990. We were playing Nintendo. We had the Nintendo, whatever. And he goes, and so I go down the street to my friend's house, and my friend, our other friend, who I spoke to briefly, I talked to him, just kind of confirm, and did like a Q&A with him. I actually got to know all three of these guys, not real well, but like Chad especially, and Chase. Their other friend, like, I got to know him, Corey. He's a very unique dude. I'll say that. But so Corey was already over there, and then they got this idea, hey, let's all just tell our moms that we want to stay the night or whatever. And it was in the summertime. And, in the summertime, the cool thing about it is you can stay at sleepovers at your friends, or your friends can sleep over or whatever. Y'all can hang out and do whatever, because it's summertime. And you don't have to wait until like a Friday or a Saturday. And on the rare occasion during school, if you're really cool with their parents and your parents are cool with their parents, you might be able to stay over at your friend's house during the school, on a school night even, as long as you went up to school the next day with the friend or whatever. It was one of those things, But it's never as fun as it is in the summertime, because in the summertime,
You stay up late.
you stay up late. And what I mean by that is, on a Friday night, you're tired because you've been up since 6, 7 in the morning. Or if you're like me, you live out in the sticks. Everybody's like, oh, you're tired? I'm like, yeah, dude, because I get up at 5 a.m. to be on the bus like you guys live in town, whatever. So maybe Saturday you could stay up late, whatever. But if you were like us, you had to get up early and go to church. So it was never as fun on the weekend. But in the summertime, especially if you're already used to staying up late, all summer, the summertime was fun. You go on Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, didn't matter. And you could just stay the night at your friends, and you could stay up late. That's when I was able to actually stay up until the morning. If it was Friday or Saturday, probably not. And Saturday you didn't want to, because you had to get up and go to church, right? So anyway, we were talking, and it was funny because when me and Chase were talking, he was like, yeah, dude, it was like that. So we said, hey, we're playing games. We're sitting there, we're having fun. We're playing Castlevania or whatever it was. And he just said, you know what? I'm going to stay the night. His mother was like, okay, that's cool. She literally did the work, called our mom, said, the boys are going to stay here. Cool. The only problem with Chad's house, if there was a problem at all, he goes, it was a fun place to be. He had a swimming pool. It was an above ground pool, but it was still fun. It was big. It was in the backyard. He said, we had a great time. And they had a huge backyard. And in the back, there was a trampoline too. And he goes, and we all lived on these like 1 acre lots, like a lot of people had those back then, And this was in a town. I'm not going to say the name of the town, but it was in southern Michigan, right? And his family still lives around there now to this day. And his grandmother is still alive. She's still alive. He's 5 years younger than me. His grandmother is getting up there in age, but she's still alive. And she had a weird encounter with something in that town. So it could be something to do with the town. He's given me the names of about 3 people. 2 or so far I've reached out to, because I found them on the Book of Face, but I haven't found the other one. But he said, just look them up. They're on Facebook. So I have to go back and maybe, because according to him, he knows half a dozen people. And this is what Corey said too. Chad didn't say this. Chad was like, I'm not real sure, because he tries to like put it out of his mind. And I don't blame him, because his property was haunted with whatever this was. But the other 2, they were like, yeah, We got friends, talk to them. They've seen these things. Kind of like my hometown. Like people talk about it. They've seen some weird stuff. We were somewhere the other day and they said that, the waitress at the Stockade, she was like, our town is full of weird stuff. It's like, what is she? She said, like, what is it? It's haunted and full of weird stuff or paranormal stuff, she said. So, and if you hear a noise or whatever, that's the window. We have the window open. It's a nice breezy day or whatever. But if it gets too loud and y'all complain, we'll shut it down. But here's the thing. Chad was very forthcoming about what happened to him in his house. Now, tomorrow night on the members only, we're going to get into some stuff about what happened to Chad in his house. And it's just going to be about him and what happened to him. But today, we're going to be talking about what happened to him, Corey, and Chase. So that's what's going on tonight. And then we're going to try to get into Chase's encounter in the Manistee National Forest, which seems to be a hotbed of activity. Michigan Dogman. So he tells me his story about the Michigan Dogman, and I'm enthralled, and I'm like, that's pretty heavy. I mean, and so I asked the question. I was like, not to be, ungrateful, be like, is that all you got? Do you have anything else? Do you have anything in the ghost category or vampires?
What else you got? Come on, what else you got? I need it. Gimme.
You're like a used car salesman, and everybody on the lot, and they showed you every car. What else you got? What else you got? No, I don't want him to feel that way. Like I was some unappreciative guy. But I told him, I said, hey, do you have anything else that may have happened to you when you were a child? And that's probably better. Maybe turn this one down a little bit. So I said, do you have anything else that happened to you when you were a child?
It's as low as that one goes.
That one's as low as it goes?
Yeah.
You can lean it back some. It's the lighting, folks, because it's just not looking whatever. Anthony's like, it's your face. I'm like, crap. I knew it was something. I was hoping it was the lighting. But here's the thing. He says, look, when I was a kid, he goes, I saw something, this is why I think that maybe they're physical, metaphysical, whatever. And he goes, I have a theory. And that's when he tells me all about his theory. And he said, I've heard you talk about it a little bit. I'm like, a little bit?
I mentioned it once or twice.
I knew automatically. I was like, you don't watch the live streams, do you? He's like, are those the ones on YouTube? I said, okay. I said, yeah, where we do most of our work. Sorry to offend you, Chase.
90% of
might have to learn a thing or two. 90%, yeah. 90% of it's on there, right? He says, no, I listen to it on Spotify. I'm like, you and 50,000 other people. So here's what I told him. I said, look, you really need to go back and start watching some of those live streams. If you don't want to hear what I have to say at the beginning, then cut through to about 45 minutes in, whatever. And so I told him, that's funny that you said that, Rob. Holy crap, what you just said. The green-eyed thing. Pay attention. Rob Money. Is it Rob Money? Yeah. Pay attention. That's crazy that you just said that, because we're going to get into something like that right now. Wendy Guizdala, thank you for that donation. We love Wendy. Here's the thing. When we started talking, I didn't jump down his throat. I didn't say anything, but I was a little perturbed because I'm like, dude, you're not getting the full experience if you're not hearing me talk on YouTube, right? And he's like, I would, but you're just so damn annoying on there. He didn't say that. But anyway, people are thinking it. So he's sitting there, he's telling me all about his theory, and I said, that makes sense. So you saw this when you were younger. And he says, well, yeah, but it looked different. He said, the first time I saw it, I was 9, and my friend Chad, who I had known from school, we grew up together in Southern Michigan. He goes, he lived in a house down the road from the one that this happened in, and that house was haunted as the bad word. Right. And I said, oh, okay. So then he tells me, he says, but the thing is, I didn't really have a lot of experiences in that house. I heard a woman moaning like by our window one night, and it was upstairs. They had like a old Victorian terror house is what he called it. He said it was like terrifying, and his sisters, he had 2 older sisters, and they were constantly screaming and freaking out, and stuff was messing with them. He said, but me and my other friends that went there, the house was so big, there were 5 bedrooms, and then there was a converted bedroom. So there was like 6-bedroom house, 4,200 square feet. That's a big house. And he said that they would play video games in the game room and they would hear noises and see stuff. He said, but this other house, when he first moved in, he goes, I was 9. I was 9 years old. He goes, and I walked into the kitchen. They had only been living there for like a month. Nothing had happened up to this point. But my friend Chad was telling me that some things had happened there, right? And like I said, we're going to get into Chad's experiences tomorrow on the members only. What's up, Michigan Rob? How you doing? And so he tells me, he says, you know, I feel like I missed out. Like I should have been paying more attention and listening to what Chad was saying to me. He goes, but I was a kid, you know, short attention span. He goes, we all had ADHD. They tried to give us all, you know, Ritalin, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So we were laughing and talking, and he actually is a pretty funny guy. And so when we were talking about all this, he says, I ran into the kitchen because his mother had baked peanut butter cookies, and that was like her thing. She would make these peanut butter cookies, and she would crush up these nuts in there, like walnuts or something. I don't even remember what they were. He said, but it was really good. And so I run in there to get some, you know, because there's 3 kids hanging out, you know. And so there were 4 of us. And he's like, I'm like second in line. My friend's getting them, and she's taking them off with the spatula. And he goes, and I look down, the cabinet door was open, and I see a set of eyes looking back at me, and they were yellow. They were yellow eyes. And he was like, what in the heck am I looking at? So he goes, I just kept trying to not pay attention to that. He said, prior to this, he goes, I had one encounter with something creepy, and it was at my grandma's house. And she lived up in there, right below Saginaw. He's like, you know, so where she lived, it was kind of far away. It's like a 3-hour drive, whatever, from where he was at. And he's like, and I would go there in the summertime. And he goes, the first time that I was there on my own without my siblings, he's like, I freaked out and I wanted my mom to come get me. He goes, I was like 5. And I love being around my grandparents, but I had not stayed the night in that, you know, house. So he says, so that happened to him, but his parents are like, well, that's like 2.5 hours away. Good luck. You know, enjoy the summer, kid. You know, so he was like, I was like in kindergarten. And then so I just put it out of my mind. So, for, you know, 5 years later, 4 years later, I'm thinking, whatever, maybe that was just a fluke, right? My house wasn't haunted. At least I didn't think it was. So I'm looking into this cabinet that's below the sink, and I'm like, what is that? And I said, was it underneath the sink? Because that's important. There's water that runs into there, and people see things, right? And he says, no, it was like kind of off to her left when she was facing the window. She was washing her hands after she gave us the cookies. And I kept looking, and I was like, what in the hell is that? And he goes, and this thing moved forward. And he said, when it did, its face came into view. He said, and it looked like a freaking wolf. But I saw legs. I saw arms like this going over the folded legs. And you remember when we were talking on the Patreon last night, we were talking about the Bigfoot and the orb. Mm-hmm. Well, the woman was Melinda was having nightmares about an orb that would follow her around. Go check out the Patreon. But we made reference to that. And so this thing was like arms, like fingers, like together like this. And it was sitting, and it was just kind of looking at me. He goes, and it went into my mind to stop looking at me. And it even told him, it's like, you don't see me. And it backed up into the darkness. And he was like, and then he goes, his mother just goes, oh, and it closes the cabinet. And he's like, and I wanted to tell her. He's like, I wanted to tell her. I wanted to say, you know, Mrs. M, we'll call her Mrs. M. He wanted to tell her, Mrs. M, there's a monster down there below you. And he's like, and I assure you, he goes, I am not mental. I have all my faculties. You know, he's like, dude, I went into the military. I had to pass a psychic eval. I'm not crazy. You know, I did all this stuff over the years. And he said, dude, I know what I saw. And so I turn around, and I'm like, I'm so dumbfounded that I go and I sit on the couch, and I'm just holding this cookie that I had been waiting for, you know, and she made these really big, like, you know, peanut butter cookies. And I'm just sitting there, and he's like, what in the hell did I just see? And he's like, I think I just saw the devil, you know, because, you know, you're a kid.
Yeah.
You know, what is this? And so about an hour and a half goes by, and his cookie's just sitting there. So she goes, my friend Todd turns around. He's like, "All right, it's your turn to play. Do you want to play?" And he goes, "No, I'm good." He goes, and they looked at me like, "Oh, are you sick? Like, you know, you always want to, you know." He's like, "I was a robust child." He said, "You know." He's like, "I had the baby fat." He called it baby fat. Those are code words for saying you were a fat kid. I get it, Chase. I was at one point, and then I was skinny, real skinny, sickly skinny. And then I got chubby for a couple of years, and then I just got tall and lanky and whatever. And then got fat again when I was like 30. But so what happened, he said, "Dude," he goes, "I was a robust child, and I just, you know, they kind of looked at me like, you know, whatever." He's like, "But I was really fast. I could run fast, and I was really good in sports, and I was the running back for our Pee Wee League team, whatever, the little football kids, whatever." I forgot what he called it, but we called it Pee Wee, right? Pop Warner. So anyway, he said that he was, you know, they were like, "Do you want your cookie?" And they made a joke. You know, one of his friends was like, "Oh, well, don't take it because, you know, Chase will beat you up for that cookie." And he goes, "No, go ahead." So then they knew something was wrong. He goes, so my friend Chad comes and sits next to me on the couch. We were best friends. And he tells me, he says, "Are you okay?" And he says, "Nah, man." What is it? Who's a troll? So he says, "Nah, man, I'm okay." And so Chad says, "Do you want to talk to me about something?" You know, and he's like, Chad was always very mature for his age. You know, we were about the same age. We were 4 months apart. He's like, our parents were good friends. My mom and his friends, my friend's mom, my mom sold Tupperware together, the whole thing, right? Dad's like got along real good. His dad was like my dad's insurance agent or something like that. And he said that, yeah. He's like, yeah, I'm okay. He says, so I get up and I have to go to the bathroom, but I'm terrified. What I saw under that cabinet, I was scared to death to like go to the restroom. And I had been in their other house, and these kids, him and his older sisters, they were thrilled that they were leaving that other house because the other house was haunted. He goes, and I didn't want to like be the one to tell them, "Well, you got something going on in this house." I never saw anything like that in the other house. So he said, but then again, he goes, my friend always wanted to stay the night at my house, even though it was funner over there because that big Victorian house was big and, you know, playing hide and seek and all this stuff. And it was fun. But my friend was so terrified in that house that he always wanted to stay the night at my place. But now with the new house and the pool and everything, he was like, "Nah, man, you know, stay over here." And this was only about a month in. And his mother and his dad had done a really good job of unpacking. Like everything was like, you know, he had two older sisters and they were very industrious. Like, you know, that's my words. He said that they were always doing stuff, you know, and they were nice. They didn't mess around. These were very devout Christians, and his mother was very strict on everybody. So they weren't like picking on us or messing with us. They would help out when the other kids would come over. And his two older sisters, they were Irish twins. They were each about a year apart. And he said that they would come in there and be like, "Don't need anything, boys. You want anything? Whatever." And they would typically have a friend or two over too, because this house was big too, and everybody would hang out there. And he said this was the first month, so I didn't want to cause problems. So I didn't say anything. He said, but in the middle of the night, about 4 a.m., and I asked him, "Are you sure it wasn't 3?" He said, "No, it was 4." But he said about 4 a.m., he hears something walking around outside. And his backyard was really just a trampoline, a little bit of grass, and a whatever. And then there was a big old yard around the back of it, whatever. But that's all you could really see was the pool, and there was a deck right there. And he said that it was a big yard. It was an acre, a proper acre of land, a little over an acre. And he said, so I'm sitting there. He goes, and I'm the only one awake because I am terrified. Like I was sleeping sporadically. I would sleep and then wake up. Every little noise woke me up. His sister was going to the bathroom. I stuck my head out the door because I was terrified. I saw her and I was like, "Oh." And she was like, "It's just me. What's going on?" He's like, "Oh, okay." And she's like, "Are you okay?" And he's like, "No, I'm okay." He's like, and then I go and I lay back down, every little noise. But this was something different. It was outside. He goes, and in his dad's bedroom was right across the hall. And his mom and dad, when there was a bunch of kids over, typically they would close the door because they didn't want to hear us, you know, making a bunch of noise. But that day, his dad had come in. He was working late. And he had just went to sleep and left the door open. And you could hear his dad just sawing logs. He was out. He's like, and I look into their bedroom, and I see them asleep, and everybody's asleep. And he's like, and so I go and I lay back down, and I hear this thing walking around outside. Then he hears a voice once again in his mind, and it said, "Hey, come outside." And he thought to himself, "Hell no, I'm not coming outside." Like, what is that? And then he's like, he's thinking that it's just a voice in his head, like it's him doing it, like he himself is answering. So he's just like, "I'm not going outside." And then the thing said, "Why not?" Then he was like, "Okay, I know I'm not crazy." That sounded like a man's voice, very raspy, gravelly. It sounded weird. It sounded like a monster, like you would think of like a monster in a movie, right? And he said, "I sat up in bed and I looked out the window." He goes, "And all I see are like these legs dangling over the side of the pool. And I'm looking and I'm terrified to look up to see what else it was. And these legs are hairy legs, and the feet looked so weird. And you could see claws on the feet." And he goes, "And I closed the curtain. I was like, what is that?" And he said, "And then when I backed up, there's 3 kids here besides me, and I tripped over my one friend, Todd, and I landed on Corey." Corey wakes up. He's like, "What's going on?" Corey had a bad, he would cuss a lot. He would say that, but he has Tourette's, like it's a mild Tourette's syndrome. And so he would cuss. And he's like, "What the hell?" He says it out loud, like very loud. And then he's like, "Corey, be quiet. There's something out there." He goes, and then my friend sits up. And he's got these bunk beds, right? And he's like, he sits up on the bottom bed, the bottom of the bunk, because there's no mattress on the top for whatever reason. I don't know. The mattress wasn't up there. Oh, I think they took it because of the sister's friends or whatever. But anyway, he said the mattress wasn't up there. He said he stands up and he's like, "Did you see it?" And he looks at his friend Chad and he's like, "See what?" And he goes, "It. That's what you're looking at, right?" And so all the boys are awake now and they're all looking out the window and there's nothing there. And then Chad says, "Well," and no offense to Corey, but they did tell me, and Corey admitted it, that he was a big mouth and he would go to school and he would blurt it out. So not necessarily his fault. He had Tourette's. So they were just like, "Don't say it out loud," because Corey. And then their other friend, Todd's like, "Way to go, Corey. You got to ruin it." And then he's like, "I'll tell you later." And then Todd's like, "Well, that's not fair." And Corey's like, "Well, I want to know. Like, we're not telling you." So he goes, he lays back down. So then they're all kind of freaked out. They wake up a few hours later. Mom's making blueberry pancakes. Everything is fine. Whatever. He's like, "I just put it out of my mind." We had a fun day. The next day we played with yard darts, lawn darts. I remember those until people were getting beamed in the head and dying and getting their eyes poked out. And then they took them away from Walmart, but not before I bought a set and played with them and managed to wound one of my cousins.
Well, that's the point of them.
Yeah. I didn't wound him. My sister did, but she threw it up in the air like an imbecile, like she always does everything. And so it came down and it hit my other friend, my other cousin. She got hit with it. And that was the end of those. My mom took them and threw them in the trash. Plus, I would use them as projectiles if I was angry. So that was it. My mom's like, "Oh, we're done with this. We're not. But you can take your 22 and go shoot. Go out there and shoot some copperheads. Do something productive." But the yard darts are right out. So he says, "We're out there. We're playing yard darts, man. We're having fun with the lawn darts, whatever." And he says that everything's fine. He goes, "But then I look toward the bedroom and I see the curtain moving like somebody's looking at us, but there's nobody there." And then the curtain closes. He goes, and I'm there with his sister Sheila, and I'm like, and she's like, "Yeah, I just saw that." He's like, "At least his oldest sister saw it." Right? He was like, I was freaking dumbfounded. And I told her, I said, "Yeah, I kind of saw something yesterday." And she's like, "Really?" She's like several years older than us. She's like 7 years older than us. She's an older teenager. I'm like 9 years old. She gets down on her knees and she's like, "Tell me what you saw." And he's like, I felt put on the spot. She's kind of like an authority figure, And I said, "Well, I'd rather not talk about it." She's like, "Tell me what you saw." And he's like, "Okay, I saw a werewolf." And he's expecting her to go, "What?" and start laughing. And the other kids are playing, whatever. And she goes, "Okay, what did it look like?" And he gave the description of it. Where was it at? And he said it was under the cabinet. She goes, "Oh my gosh." She's like, My brother's seen that too. So everybody leaves. He stays there because he just lives down the road. He can get on his bike and go anytime. The other two kids, Corey and Todd, leave. They get picked up. He stays there. And he starts to talk to the mother. And she comes and sits down and is like, well, what did you want to tell me? He thought that maybe she had already been briefed, or maybe she had already seen something like this. And, having lived in the other house, it was a slam dunk. He was just going to tell her. The sister's like, just tell my mom. He's like, yeah, yesterday when you were giving us the peanut butter cookies, which I really like, by the way, yeah, I saw a werewolf in your cabinet. And the mom is like, mm-hmm. He's like, you could tell she wanted to burst out laughing at me. He's like, it's one of the most embarrassing things ever. He goes, not to mention the fact that his sisters and his mother were very pretty. And I being a kid, I was like, I thought that they were gorgeous, And he's like, I had a little crush on his mother. She was my Sunday school teacher. And my mother told me that was evil. You're not supposed to be looking at the Sunday school teacher. He's like, but she was pretty. And he's like, he goes, she could have been like a model if she wasn't married to, my friend's dad, and very, a homemaker and a good mom, And so he says, she was a very beautiful woman. He goes, and she was going to laugh at me. He goes, and I got so embarrassed, I kind of withdrew. And she's like, okay. Well, did it do anything to you? And he was very condescendingly, and he's like, no, Mo, it just sat there. She's like, did it talk? He could tell it was like, he looked at Sheila like, thanks a lot, lady. Now this woman thinks I'm nuts. And he's like, he lied. He goes, no, I didn't say anything. I don't know what I saw. He goes, honestly, I don't know what I saw. And Chad was like going like, tell her. And she's like, well, that's funny because it sounds like what Chad saw. And Chad was like, I did, Mom. And she goes, oh, okay. You know what? And she like just slaps her legs. Well, this conversation's over, and back then women that were working a lot in the kitchen and doing things at home, she had an apron. She cleaned her hands. She goes, I got to get back to dinner, boys. Okay. And she's like, but if you want to stay, Chase, and have dinner with us, we have a meatloaf, that's fine. And I'm going to go finish cooking. Okay. And if you see any more werewolves, let me know. Okay. Very humiliating. He's like, I sat there looking down at the ground. I never forget. It was this weird checkerboard pattern on the floor. And I was just staring at these squares and going like, that woman thinks I'm nuts. Or she thinks I'm lying for her son and her daughter. And his sister was like, look, we've all seen it. And he's like, well, what did you, this is funny. He's like, well, what happened when you told her when you saw it? And she's like, oh, I didn't told her. So then he's like going, oh, okay. So me and Chad are the goofy, stupid people, and you are the person that's all put together because you didn't tell your mom what you've seen. She goes, well, I saw it come crawling out of my closet when I was walking in, and then it crawled backwards and disappeared into the darkness. And I didn't know what I was seeing until my sister saw it. And she at that time was at volleyball practice. He said, my sister saw it. And then Chad saw it. And Chad's like, yep, I saw it just like you did. It was in the cabinet. He's like, but it was in the upper cabinet. He's just like, dude, what in the hell? So he goes, I go home that day. And that night, I had one of the worst nightmares I'd ever had in my entire life. I wake up the next day and I call my friend and I'm like, man, dude, I'm not staying at your house anymore. But that wasn't true. A couple of weeks go by and all my friends are over there hanging out in July and everything. And I want to swim. And my friend Corey calls me. He's like, hey, we're all going to Chad's. You want to go? And I'm like, no. Yes. So then he hangs up the phone and he puts on his swim trunks and throws on his tank top and gets on his bike. And he rides over there and he's like, they're all in the back. So he just goes running around to the back, opens the gate, runs and jumps in the pool. And they swim and have fun for a couple of hours. And then once again, he's like sitting there in the pool. Everybody's getting in and out and they're getting tired, and he goes, and I look over and I see this head looking out of his sister's room. And there again, he's like, I see it and it looks like a big wolf's head. And I'm like, and this thing is looking at me. It just doesn't blink. It's just like two yellow eyes. And I'm sitting there looking at it and I'm going like, dude. And then something happened. My friend Todd goes, what is that? turn around and I'm like, oh, good. Somebody else is seeing this thing. And it's just a freaking praying mantis, like on the edge of the pool. And everybody runs over there to go look at it. And he's like, okay. So he looks back, looks again. It's gone. And so then he realizes the one sister, she's a cheerleader. The other sister is like real athletic. She's playing volleyball, whatever. So they're at practice or whatever. And it's school time, whatever. They have all this extracurricular, what do you call that crap? Or one of them goes to cheer camp or something. And the other one goes to whatever it's called. Anyway, she was like in some kind of off-season volleyball.
Bunch of camps.
Yeah. Not a camp, but it was like a league, whatever. Mm-hmm. He's like, so they're playing, doing whatever. And he's like, so I just want to enjoy my summer, you know. But curiosity got the better of me. He goes, and even though I was terrified, something was telling me to go in there and look in the room. So I talked to my friend Corey. My friend Chucky was there too. And I was like, hey, Chuck, you and Corey, hey, man, you want to see something cool? And he didn't know what to tell him. He goes, I was just thinking it up as I went along. I was like, why don't we go in there and we check out their bedroom? And Corey's like, why? And then he's like, oh, this is the worst person to tell this to because he's going to blurt something crazy out. And he goes, why do you want to go there? And he says it real loud and everybody's turning and looking. And then he's like, never mind. And Chuck was like, I do. I want to go check it out. And of course, Chuck, he goes, you know, he's like a year older than us. He had a crush on one of his sisters, right? The middle one, right? He's like, he liked her, always did. And he's like, so yeah, he wanted to go in there and run around, snoop in her bedroom and whatever. And he's like, okay, all right. He's trying to tell Corey, be quiet. You know, let's not do this. And Corey told me, he's like, I couldn't help it. Like I just said things, I would blurt things out. And he actually did it to me on the phone. And that's okay. I understand. But for the most part, he's got it under control. But when he was a kid, it was hard, you know? So he's kind of giving it away. So his one friend like wades over there to him in the pool, and he's like, what are y'all talking about? And of course, this is, you know, his friend Chad. And he's like, nothing, you know, nothing. I want nothing. And Chad's like, well, y'all are all over here talking. What's going on? He's like, nothing, dude. Everything's fine. Why are you bugging? We're going to get out of the pool. Let's go do something. And then so he gets, you know, to get out and gets everybody to come out of the pool. And let's change the subject, right? He goes, and I don't know why I even wanted to go in there because there's a monster in there and it could possibly eat me from the looks of it. But something was gnawing at me to go in there. He goes, and this is exactly why I didn't want to be at their house. He's like, so when then we go inside and everybody's like making plans and stuff, you know, it's like, well, let's go stay the night at so-and-so's house or whatever. And let's do this and let's do that. And these two kids, their mom was going to pick them up and they were going to stay the night at this other guy's house. And so it was just me and Corey and Chad. And Corey's like, yeah, well, I want to stay here at Chad's. And Chad's like, my mom said I could have 3 people. Now there were too many. So the other kids went to the other house. And so he says, okay. And so they decided to stay. He's like, so it was just 3 of us. He's like, and I just put it out of my head. And that night, we played video games and we drank Mountain Dew and we ate, you know, Baby Ruth candy bars and whatever. And he said, when we were all done and sugared out and tired, everybody fell asleep. I fell asleep in my friend's big beanbag chair. He goes, and I'm just out asleep. And then I hear something from the hallway and it sounded like something was chewing or smacking its lips. And he says, I hear this like chewing noise. And then he goes, and then I hear like a really loud, like a dog. He's eating something. He's like, and I look down the hallway and the door, which had been closed, was now open and it was just darkness. And I see something moving its head back and forth and there were red eyes. Red. Then it comes out of the darkness just enough to where the lamplight can catch it. And it's my friend's dog. But the eyes were red and it was eating a rat. And he's like, and I'm looking, I'm like, ugh. And he goes, so I told the dog, you know, and I can't remember what he called the dog, but it started with like an M, but he said that he called the dog and the dog dropped the rat on the ground and then walked backwards. As it began to walk backwards, he goes, I saw this with my own eyes. This was not a dream. I was wide awake. I stood up He's like, I dropped the Nintendo controller. I'm looking down the hallway and I'm looking right at it. And it gets up and walks backwards, upright like a man. And the dog that I thought was the thing that I thought was his dog was this werewolf thing that was not overly tall, maybe 5.5 feet tall, taller than me at that time because I was just a kid, 9 years old. He's like, and this thing backs up and it keeps walking backwards and it goes into the darkness and then it laughs. He's like, and I fell backwards onto that beanbag chair. And when I did, I tripped over the cord, yanked the Nintendo and the TV because the Nintendo was hooked into the back of the TV. So the TV goes falling and then everything falls. And my friend Chad gets up and says, oh, what's going on? And he's like, I just saw something down the hallway. And Chad apparently was dreaming about this. Chad was like, I thought I was dreaming. And he's like, did you see something? And he says, yeah. What were you dreaming? And this is their friend Corey asking. And he says, they didn't want to tell him because he was, big mouth. He goes, and Corey says it. He goes, was it the werewolf? Then Chad was like, who told you that? He goes, I've seen it. He's like, when I was going to the bathroom earlier, he's like, I saw something under the table. I thought it was your dog. It's a werewolf, and it was eating a rat. And then he's sitting there. Chase is sitting there, and he's like, it's right there in the hallway. It's right there. There's a dead rat. Chad was like, I thought I was dreaming all of that. So he gets up, and he walks, and he sees it. And, of course, he's got this little flashlight. He looks. They're too scared to go down the hallway. And then Chad's like, okay, let's all go together. Let's go down the hallway. And they're like, okay. So they all stand up, and they go to the door. And Chase admitted to me, he was like, I was scared. I was a punk ass little kid and I was scared, He's like, so as Chad starts going down the hallway, going up to the rat, which is all bloody and gross. And he's like, I don't know where this came from. He goes, we don't have rats. And he's like, his friend, Corey, was like, well, now you do. He goes, and then he turns around and he sees how far out into the hallway he is. He's like, you P words. And he runs back into the room and he closes the door. He said when he closes the door, they hear bang on the door, like something had hit the door, but there was nothing there. And then Chad just starts sliding down the door. And Chase told me in detail, he's like, I've never seen a person look so defeated. He was just tears coming out of his eyes. He's like, I don't want to live here. I don't want to live in this house. Why do I have to live in haunted houses? And he's just, he goes, I'm sitting there and I'm like, I don't know. But he said, I went back to sleep or tried to and laid down, made my sleeping bag and made a little pallet on the ground. And I told my friend, I'm sorry that you have to go through this. And I truly was. But what do? So his friend goes and he climbs onto his bunk bed. And at this point, the mattress is on the top and the other one gets up there and I'm laying on the floor. He goes, and I'm looking at the door for about an hour and a half till about 4 a.m. I'm just looking at that door. Nothing happens. It doesn't open. Nothing else happens. Nothing comes of it. And in the morning, we're walking with, what is that? Oh my gosh. Everybody's freaking out. And, they open the door and they're like, what's going on? There's a rat on the floor. Oh my gosh. I can't remember the dog's name. I can't remember what it was. It started with an M or an N or something. But the dog, they thought, had tore the rat up. And the mother asked them what they had seen, if they knew anything about it. He goes, and I lied. I'm like, nope. I don't want to be embarrassed any further and tell her any more stories about what I had seen or what it was or whatever. I'm just like, nope. Don't know. But Corey's like, so, werewolf, blurts it out. And the mom is like, really? Okay. She's like, okay, Chad, now your stories have now not only affected, Chase, but now they've affected Corey. Are you happy? You have your sisters scared. You have everybody in the house scared. She's like, and including me. And he's like, I'm looking down at this rat and I'm going like, yeah, I'd be freaked out too. This thing, like somebody attacked the rat and shook it and there was blood on the walls. Like indicative of what a dog would do, right? What's crazy though is that when this happened, the dog had been left outside all night. And one of the sisters, the middle sister, I think her name was Brooke, she comes out and Brooke's like, Mom, the dog was out all night out in the backyard because this was the one dog that they let inside. They had two big outside dogs. Like she was outside playing with the other dogs and I forgot to bring her in. So how did that happen? The dad standing there. How did this happen? He shakes his head and he's like, geez. And he walks to the bathroom. And so this is the reason why he didn't want to be there. He goes, and I didn't stay the night there again for like 2 months. And now the school year was in full swing. He's like, and it was, late September. And my friend had his birthday coming up. And we all went to the same school, same church. His mother's like, Chase's mom's like, well, why don't we have your birthday party at our house? He said, me and Corey looked at each other like, great. Because we were hoping to go out to his kid named Steven's house, He's like, I didn't want to be at that house. I wanted to go out to Steven's house. He lived in a dumpy trailer out in the middle of nowhere where if you took a wrong step, you might go through the floor. He's like, I'd rather do that and watch his dad get drunk and burn trash and bitch about, politics than ask to have to stay at that house. And my friend Chad had taken to coming over to my house to hang out and play and whatever. And so the sleepover was going to be at his house. And there were 3 kids already that knew that this was, whatever. And he said that my friend Todd was like, no, I'm not going to do that. I'm not going, he's not going to do it. My friend Chuggy was like, I'm not doing it. I'm not going to stay there. And it was embarrassing for Chad because I felt bad for him. He goes, at that point, I was like a kid, but I didn't understand the whole dynamics. And I felt a weird way. Like, I don't know. But it was pity. I was feeling pity for my friend because he was just sitting there looking down, knowing that he lives in this wacky house, the second one in a row. And his dad comes up and says, well, you know what? That weekend, we're actually going to be going fishing. So if you guys want to go fishing, we can all do it out by the lake. Then, when we come back, and you guys can go your separate ways. So his dad picked up on it and he saved the day. And everybody's like, yeah, let's go fishing because nobody wanted to stay the night at Chad's house. So what happened? We ended up going fishing. We had a blast. He goes, I caught 2 fish. Everybody else caught like 3. He goes, but I caught 2. I was happy and I was proud of myself because one of mine was the biggest one by far. And he goes, and what's crazy is like when we opened my fish up to gut it, whatever, it had another fish inside of it. He's like, so that was really freaky and cool. And everybody thought, oh, that's awesome. He's like, so it was a fun day. I said, what happened later? He goes, well, that's the problem. Let me tell you. My friend Chad tells me, we're best friends. He goes, we're still best friends to this day. He goes, in fact, he's like, Chad married my sister. He's now my brother-in-law. And he goes, my sister was 2 years younger than me, and Chad and her, always liked each other, whatever. And so they got married, But he said, Chad looks at me and he's like, don't leave me alone in that house tonight. I don't want to be alone. And he says, well, what have you been doing? He goes, I've been sleeping in my sister's room. When they go to sleep, I go in there and I go to sleep. He's like, and then I wake up and I go back into the other room before they get up. And he's like, he goes, well, I have an alarm on my watch. This is how the kid was living. Terrified. And even then he was seeing stuff. So he's like, geez, dude. He's like, I really don't want to, man. He goes, I know. He's like, but I think my mom and dad might be on to me. I got to start staying in my room. So he's like, just stay with me, tonight, through the weekend, whatever. And he says, all right. So reluctantly, I did. And I told his dad, I said, hey, Mr. M, can you take me back to my place? I got to get some stuff, whatever. So they stopped by his house. He got his stuff. And his mother was like, well, I thought you weren't going to stay over at Chad's. And she's like, I don't want to. And she's like, and then his mother did him a favor. She said, well, y'all could stay here if you want to. And he's like, oh, that's great. But then when he went back out to tell his dad was like, nope, no, Chad needs to stay at home tonight. Because he, like he said, he thought that he was onto him, right? And he says, and sleep in his own room. Automatically, he knew. And so he closed the door, went back inside and got his toothbrush and his other stuff. And he heard his dad saying something about, like, oh, you think I didn't know, or something like that. So his dad went in there and played, Nintendo with him for a couple of hours. He goes, his dad was cool. He was like a big kid. He would come in there and he would play with us, but then he would be all about business later, So he was playing games with us. And we're having fun. He goes, all right, kids, that's enough for me. And he says, look, me and your mother will be back to check on you guys. Don't be afraid. And his son is looking at him like, okay. Goes into the room. Hour later, they hear his dad sawing logs. His dad was a big guy. He goes, he was just really nice, fun guy to be around. He's always nice to us kids, always doing stuff with us, taking us camping, hiking. In fact, he's the one that took us to the Manistee National Forest when we were teenagers. I fell in love with the place and I went back, took my kids there and whatever. And so he says, my dad was a workaholic by contrast, workaholic. And he says, but he never really took enough time to I said, yeah, that's a lot of that generation. They did that. Latchkey kids, that's what we were, right? So he says, what was crazy is he goes, I stayed the night there and I was having so much fun that I just kind of forgot about the weird stuff that I had seen there. I forgot about the Wolfman. It was what we had taken to calling. We didn't call it where we called it the Wolfman. He's like, and we just ignored it. And then we're about to go to sleep and Chad's lays down on the floor. Not just did he lay down on the floor, but he crawled under the bed to go to sleep. And he's like, what are you doing? And he's like, I'm just feel safer, And so he says, okay. And he lays down on the floor. He goes, and I put my head up on the beanbag. And I was kind of sitting with my hands behind my head, looking up at the ceiling. And Chad tells me, he says, it's gotten bigger. And Chase is like, what do you mean? And he's like, it's gotten bigger. It's not short anymore. It's almost to the ceiling. And he's like, he goes, the Wolfman. And he's like, it's gotten bigger. It's growing. He goes, yeah. And he said something very interesting for a 10-year-old kid. At this point, they were both 10 years old. He said said something very interesting. He said, I think it's feeding on our fear. And that's a kid who should not have to deal with something like this. He's a 10-year-old kid, for goodness sakes. And he knows this. Chad knows this. And he tells Chase, he says, I think it's feeding on our fear. And Chase is like, are you serious? He goes, yeah, I'm serious. He's like, and I think it's messing with one of my sisters. The oldest one, the middle, he goes, the middle one. She was the one that was very headstrong, real athletic. And she was like, I can do it. I can beat you up. I'm Ronda Rousey. She's that kind of. And we kind of made a joke about that. The way that Chad and, Chase described it to me is she was a wannabe tomboy. He's like, she was too pretty to be a tomboy, but she wanted to be like Kate Beckinsale. They're like, yeah, okay. I'm the death dealer. And if you're watching, hopefully she's not. And I'm not making funny. I'm not making funny. They get onto them. Because they're the ones that sandbagged you, Brooke, not me. They said some things about you. Apparently her husband, though, was an MMA fighter, so I don't want to mess with him too much. So, Brooke, I'm sorry. I apologize. But, yeah, so what ends up happening? He's laying there on the beanbag. He's like, and the door knob turns. And we had the light on. We were not stupid. He goes, and I'm looking over at the door. Chad's looking back at the door. The doorknob is turning slowly. And it starts to open, and all you see is darkness. There's nobody there. And then all of a sudden, the door swings wide open. And out of the darkness steps this foot. And as soon as the foot fell, they knew exactly what it was. It was his sister. And she's like, what are you doing? Go to sleep. And then she's like, you little turds, and closes the door and walks back out. And he's like, funny, right? Innocent enough. But he says, she's possessed. Chad says this. And Chase is laughing. He's like, that scared the crap out of me, dude. What? Yeah, she's possessed, dude. This thing possesses her. And he's like, what are you talking about? And he's like, and then he realized like he hadn't been going over there in a while, and him and his friend had kind of not really been talking much, except for at school where his friend looked like he was exhausted all the time. Parasites will do that to you. And he says, I look at my friend, I'm like, Chad, what are you talking about? And he's like, dude, she's possessed, dude. That's why she did that, because she's trying to generate fear. Then he's like, okay. All right, well, good luck with all that. I'm going to sleep. So he goes, at this point, I actually felt comfortable. And I thought, okay, it's in his head. The house has gotten to him. I didn't notice anything all day long or night. But then again, part of the day I was at the lake. Well, good night. He goes to sleep. Then I feel something hit my back. And I'm like, what the heck is that? So I roll over, and it's like a He-Man. And he goes, and I'm like, what are you doing? Why are you throwing this at me? He's like, because you're an asshole. He turns around, he says, you shouldn't say bad words. I'm going to tell on you. He's like, oh, you would tell on me, huh? You're not the one that lives in this house. He's like, you know what? F you. And he literally says F. He doesn't say the bad word. That's the worst word you could say, right? Other than G, whatever. So he says, we're just like saying the cuss words, first letters, and we're back and forth. And then I'm like, you're just a scaredy cat. And he's like, you saw it too. He goes, yeah, and I haven't seen it since. He goes, you haven't been over here. And he's like, well, you got me there. And he rolls over, goes to sleep, in the discussion. But about 3 a.m, he said it was a little after 3. He wakes up, he looks at the clock. He's got one of those big alarm clocks with the red letters, red numbers. He says, I look, it's like 3:10 or something in the morning. And I got to use the bathroom real bad. He's like, and I'd given up bedwetting years ago. So I decided I should get my ass to the bathroom, because if not, I'm going to have an accident here. He goes, but I was afraid. So I debated it. And I thought about peeing out the window. And then I thought that would be even worse, because that thing crawls around outside. And who knows where it's at, if it's even here still, or maybe it was in my imagination. So he sat there for a little bit, and then he's like, I got to make a decision. His decision was, I'm going to make it. I'm going to run to the bathroom. So he does. He tries to wake up Chad to watch his back. Chad wasn't having it. Chad just rolls over. That's how he said he did. Rolls over, goes to sleep, and then farts. And he's like, wow. He's like, all right, whatever. He goes, that motivated me. I got up and I run to the bathroom. Of course, Chad said that didn't happen, but I told Chad, I was like, how do you know? You were asleep. He's like, well, Chase says a lot of stuff. But the stuff he said about that's true, but not about me farting. I'm like, okay, so we'll put that disclaimer in there. I'm just telling the story, Chad. Don't hurt me.
Don't be ashamed of it.
Don't hurt the messenger, right? So Chase runs down the hallway, goes to the bathroom. He's like, and I use it, and I hear like boom, boom, and I keep hearing this noise. He's like, and I'm in there and I'm peeing, and I'm like, then it stops by the bedroom, by the bathroom door. And I'm like, I hear it moving up against the bathroom door. And I'm thinking, maybe it's the bat, maybe it's the dog, maybe it's, maybe it's the cat, maybe it's, I'm trying to figure out what this could be. And I'm thinking, oh my gosh, please don't be this thing. But he was thoroughly convinced they would hurt him. He felt it like he wanted to. At this point, he's like, I'm there for like what felt like an eternity with my hand right there by the doorknob. Believe me, Chase, I know, because I've been there too. I lived in haunted houses. And one when I was a kid was horrible, and I hated that feeling, not knowing what's behind the other side of the door. So I felt for him. He was reliving it when he was telling me. He's years later, I am still, he's a 45-year-old guy, almost 46, still remembers it. And he's like, and I'm there with my hand hovering over the doorknob, and then I take it and I turn it, and I'm like, He's like, and then I stop and I just lean on the sink and I'm like, I'm too afraid. So just in case it's one of the people, he says, who's out there? No answer. And he says it again, who's out there? And he hears me. And he's like, oh, it's his sister or one of them. He said they both sounded alike, so I didn't know which one it was. So I opened the door and I'm like, hey, it's it. And there's nobody there. He's like, and I look down the hallway. I look both ways. Where the bathroom was, there were 2 bedrooms right here, and the mom's and his. And then there was this other room that they converted. It was like a game room. And he's like, and I have to walk down the hallway past the sister's bedroom. The other one, the oldest sister, is right across from the bathroom. And then there's another one. And that was so he goes, I look into the sister's bedroom. The door is partially open. I push it open. The dog lifts up its head. He's like, oh, it's not her. Closes the door. He turns and he looks. He goes, and then I just decide, you know what? Maybe I just heard that. You start to rationalize it. And he's like, and I'm walking down the hallway. The door to his sister Brooke's room is open because it started to open as he was walking by. And it was like, it had this noise to it. He said, oh man, why didn't they use some WD-40 on this? I do not know. But he's walking by, and this is the part that even freaked me out. And he says, I look over there, and she's on the bed. And she's making this smacking noise, like she's eating. And I'm like, Brooke? And I see the head turn, and I see green eyes. It was Brooke sitting upright on the bed, just like she was stiff as a board, with her legs straight out in front of her. And she looks at me. I saw green, glowing eyes looking back at me. And I remember what Chad said. She's possessed. He said, this thing possesses her. And he says, and I'm staring at her, and I want to run out the front door. I want to run out the back door. I want to run to Chad's room and grab a bat. I am freaking terrified. He's like, and then what happened next was straight out of a horror movie. And he's like, and Chase told me, he's like, I'm looking at her, and she starts growling at me like an animal. And he's like, it was just, and he was just like, oh, what am I looking at? What am I dealing with? What is wrong with Brooke? And he's just like, I fall back onto the wall. And he goes, and I'm just a child. I'm terrified. And Brooke's, she's like 15, 16 years old, dude. If she wanted to, she could beat me up. And if she's possessed by some kind of spirit, no telling what she could do to me. He's like, I'm like, Brooke, calm down. And then she spoke to me, and she's like, why don't you make me? And he said it was this demonic, horrible voice, like from the devil. And he says, I back up, and I'm like, I'm your friend. And she starts to sit up off of the bed and flops down onto the ground and begins to crawl, sitting up and then falling back down, and then sliding, sitting up and then falling back down. That was the noise he had heard. And he's like, Brooke, are you okay? And it imitated him perfectly. Brooke, are you okay? From her mouth. He backed up, and he was like absolutely terrified at this point and wanted to jump out of his skin. He goes, at that point, if God would have said, hey, you want to go home? I said, let's go. I don't ever want to live anymore. He goes, and I was terrified, and I couldn't make myself move. And she got closer to me and closer to me. And then to my right, I hear, and I'm like terrified to look. And I look over, Melba, that was her name. Sorry about that. Bad time to remember. And there's Melba, the dog. Melba runs over and stands in front of me, in front of Brooke. And this is just a little half beagle, half whatever dog, but just brave, very brave. It starts growling at her and barking and snapping. And Brooke starts to laugh, like this loud, guttural laugh. And at this point, the door opens to his friend's parents' room, and his dad comes out. And he's like, "What's going on?" And he's like, "Ah, ah." And the dad runs up and looks and sees her doing this. And he's like, "Brooke," turns the light on, and immediately her eyes change, and she sits back, and she's like looking around like she don't even know how she got on the floor or what planet she's on. He's like, and I was so terrified, man. I just stumbled back to my friend's room. At this point, he's awake because all the noise she was making. His sister came out, his mother came out, and I'm just sitting there going like, what in the hell? So they went into her room and dealt with her. He's like, and I went back to my friend's room and I just sat there. And my friend was like, I told you. I told you. He's like, that's why I was putting the board up in front of the door, which you took off. Yeah, Chad left that part out. Or Chase left that part out. He's like, oh, yeah, that's right. There was a board there and I took it away. Yeah. But, yeah. So we're going to leave it there for right now, and we're going to pick it up tomorrow on the what's it called? The members only. So get yourself in the members only. It's only $5, and we're going to continue it tomorrow. And we're going to get into his encounter, hopefully in the Manistee National Forest. Or we'll talk about what happened to Chad in both of those two houses, because it may help solve some of the riddle of what was going on there. I'm not real sure. And then we have to talk about the encounter that happened in the Manistee National Forest. And that may happen tomorrow. It may happen. It depends. We'll one or the other. So anyway, what do you mean, come on, Broad? Come on, Richard. Why don't you come on, brah? What are you talking about? Mr. I need to get the heck out of Canada, but I'm never going to. I like being a prisoner. So anyways.
I hate it here, but I'm still here.
Yeah. So anyways, he's it's at the 2-hour mark, and you're like, come on, bro. So anyways, and I told Chase and Chad that their encounter was really creepy, and they didn't, I'm going to be honest, they didn't tell it like I did. I can tell very good. Right. It happened to them, but I told them I'm going to make it, I'll make it the way it's supposed to be. I'll convey all the emotion and everything. I hope I did a good job. I hope I did. And Andra says, you suck living on a cliff. It's not me, it's the time. It's 2 hours, dude. What do you want me to do? Sit up here all night?
We're not Chronos. We can't control time.
We're not the master of all time.
We're not Mayans.
Kukulkan.
Yeah.
Chronos.
Look, all you got to do,
the devil.
If you want us to be
the black
here
cube
longer, just go around the galaxy, get into 5 Infinity Stones, put it on a gauntlet. There you go. We'll be here.
I'm going to get behind the camera and fix this real quick. This is really bright and weird.
Yeah, I know. The lights are just kind of,
they're bright.
Cuckoo bananas.
We're still working out the kinks.
But thank you for tuning in. And since you've been such a lovely audience, here's what we're going to do. We're going to give away 2 hoodies on here. Whoever wants to follow me on the Random Files, because and the reason I have to go and do it now on Random Files is not just because I want to make you laugh and entertain you, but because here's what I got to do. I'll be honest with you. Full disclosure. We have to, we got monetized, so we have to move those older shows off of there, right? All right. So we got to move them off of there and put them completely onto the Random Files on Rumble. But if we do, it takes away our watch hours. So before we do that, we have to get watch hours on Random Files. So if you would be so kind, please, all of you, please, I'm begging you, go to Random Files and I'll entertain you for another hour. I can't do the story for another hour, but I can do something on Random Files because Random Files is not about this. Right? Nathan says, maybe if people donated more, he'd continue. Yeah, probably. It's not worth my time to go through ads, man. F y'all. I'm kidding. Joking. No, not the real Random Files. Randy says I'm going to the real Random Files. No. Random Files. Not on Rumble, on YouTube. Not on Rumble. We're already monetized on Rumble on YouTube. But thanks for looking out, Randy. I love Randy. He's a great guy.
Mm-hmm. He's always awesome.
So I'm going to make you laugh. I'm going to entertain you for about an hour. And I'm just going to tell you what kind of wacky damn bullshit we have to go through on a daily basis. And this in particular account was, I'll be honest, and Anthony and Tony already know all about this place. It was the extreme version of it, okay? But still, just, you know, it's
I have some stuff myself that I could say that the clients have asked me to do.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things where, like, I'm not going to sit up here and say, like, you know, but it was funny. Now, not like, okay.
Now it's funny.
Yeah, your mom.
In hindsight.
One day, my mom used to love this one. Your mom too, Anthony. One day, you're going to laugh about this. Getting beaten with a clothes hanger. funny stuff.
Good times.
I'm not laughing.
Oh,
now.
thank you, Tito.
Thank you so much.
Tito, you're awesome.
Man. She
She
made
It's
our
awesome.
night right there. At least someone cares about us.
Yeah.
Jeez. I'm kidding. But the thing is, you know, it's one of those deals where, like, you look back now and it is hilarious. So when we were talking about it the other night at the ranch, my brother was like, you should just do a show and just talk about that on the Go on the Random Files. Just, you know, so we got to get watch hours on the Random Files. So that's why I got to go over there and do an hour. So I'm going to be doing some tomorrow too, and probably the next day through the weekend. I'm going to be working hard on that channel. So if you want to see me, I'll be over there slaving away over a hot microphone. But that's what we're doing. So let's do two hoodie or 2 shirt giveaways, and then we'll do 2 on the Random Files. How about that? So join me on the Random Files. In fact, that wouldn't be correct because then you won't go over there, you butts. So we're going to do 1 over here. We're going to do 3 on the Random Files. Make you go. Make you go and be. You know what it was?
We'll make you go by enticing you with gifts.
My sister, not your mom, she was pretty cool about it, but my other sister, she always you had to like make her go do stuff, and then she would have a good time and then be glad that she went. But getting her to do it was like, you know, we have cookies, you know, whatever. But that, you know, that's kind of, my brother's like that too. You notice? Like, he don't want to participate.
Yeah.
Nah, I'm not going to do that. And then you get him to do it, and he's like, oh, I'm glad I did that.
Yeah.
Then they get that from my dad.
The trick is to make those kind of people, like, trick them into thinking it's their idea. Then you got them.
Oh, Lulu Bug has a good thing. She said they should go to the donators. We actually can't do that. I mean, I just can't, because if that makes people feel like they have to donate to win, and I can't do that. That's not correct. But believe me, I appreciate anybody helping the channel and the shows and our family more than you possibly could realize. But thank you, Ivy, for renewing your membership, new member, becoming a new member. Scorpion, bribery works for almost everything. Well, yeah, we got to bribe you to do everything.
Mm-hmm.
We're like, go take a shower, Scorp. Go brush your teeth, Scorp. I'm kidding.
You wipe your butt, Scorp?
Don't say stuff like that. Scorp's going to come home and beat you up, dude. So, can he beat you up?
Now?
Tony's like, I've been drinking milk, lifting weights, and doing taekwondo. Look, there's my brother. He thinks it's funny too.
Cool.
Okay, all right. So let's quit picking on each other and talking crap. These guys. All right. So here's the thing. Who wants to win a hoodie or a shirt? Your choice. If you want a hoodie or a shirt, let me know. Oh, Scorpio says, yes, I still can.
I don't think so.
Even with the pinched nerve? Because you can barely walk, dude.
It wouldn't be very
Well,
difficult.
I think he's getting over that, though. I don't know.
I think a teep and a kick to the leg. Top of them.
Well, everybody has a plan until they get hit.
That's why I won't get hit.
Mm.
My plan is to not get hit.
The Duke of Carolina says that the proceeds from Patreon go to you guys. Dude, we have to pay Patreon and YouTube to use their platforms. So no. But you can put the deal for the PayPal. That goes 100% to us. Yeah. It's just hard to get people to do it, you know, to donate to that. Paul Williams says, I want to win one. Ms. Melissa says, I want one. It's cold here. So I can only pick one of you. Paul was first. Sorry, Melissa. I would give it to you too. But we got to go on the Random Files. But Melissa, if you go to the Random Files, I'll give you one. Just show up over there and be like, hey, it's me, Melissa. And nobody be cheating and trying to trick us, all right? We'll figure it out when you give us your information. Oh, look at that, Richard. See, now you're going to get me in trouble.
That's a random files kind of talk.
Yeah, that's a real random files kind of talk, not random, real random files. We can't do it on random files anymore.
But you are correct.
Yeah. So Melissa, I give you my word. If you go over there, I'll get you the hoodie, right? So Paul, you win, I guess. Give us your information. Here is the banner giveaways at prtpodcast.com. And you're a winner. And we're doing 3 of them over at the Random Files. So we'll see you. Good night.
Later, guys.
Light that brings out. In the dark you hear a growl. Monsters in the night, unnatural appetite. A demon sent me here to take you to the afterlife. I feel something change inside of me. The inner human slowly dead in me. I feel it come alive. The darkness brings me light. There ain't no stopping it, and you will never hide from me. Pain of the change. What have I become? A creature of the night. Ruled by moonlight. The pain of the change. This body's no longer mine. Feel wild and free, but caged at the same time. It's time to be human, think human, feel human. A hunger's arising inside of me. The beast is alive and break it free. It's time to be human, think human, feel human. Keep putting more chains on the beast. Hope it don't break loose. You better hope so too. I'm still inside. I'm still here. What have I done? When did this all start? I have become a monster in the dark. A hunger like no other. Running on instinct. What's this creature?